This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Gift magical mornings with Nespresso Virtuo Pop. Compact and stylish, Virtuo Pop is made to meet every morning coffee craving. From espresso to coffee, hot or iced, at the click of a button. And celebrate the season with Nespresso's limited edition coffee flavors. Sweet almond and hibiscus, cinnamon and candied tamarind, and festive double espresso. Magic in the making. Shop the holiday gift collection exclusively at Nespresso.com.
If we knew more about our sleep, what would we do differently? Would we go to bed at a consistent time or take steps to reduce interruptions to our sleep? With the all-new Sleep Score, Apple Watch measures your bedtime consistency, interruptions, and sleep duration. Then, every morning it combines these factors into an easy-to-understand score from 1 to 100. So you'll know how to take the quality of your sleep from good to excellent. Introducing the new Sleep Score on Apple Watch. iPhone 11 or later required.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Nature's Bounty. Nature's Bounty believes your body is brilliant, naturally designed to thrive, inside and out. For those always looking for new ways to support your health from head to heels, Nature's Bounty has a range of over 400 vitamins and supplements born from 50 years of trust and care. Nature's Bounty. It's in your nature. Visit naturesbounty.com to learn more.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels. On everything from lamps to ceiling fans. Even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes. Now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox. Clean feels good.
Hey everybody, it's Weird Islanders, the podcast, back once again. My name is Dan. That is Mike. How are you this evening, Mike?
Wonderful. This is an episode a long time in the making. One that we've been looking forward to doing for quite some time. It features a guest and subject matter that we both hold in very high regard. And it's a little different from the usual Weird Islanders, but when the theme of the episode gets revealed, it'll all make sense. But as soon as the subject matter that we'll be discussing was released, you and I are like, well, we gotta get going on another episode with our friend here, because this was one of the most fulfilling watches I've ever had, in terms of like hockey specific documentary, storytelling, narrative, whatever you want to call it. It was just amazing, and I can't wait to get into it. It's something that I believe deserves the honor of coming on Weird Islanders and being covered by Weird Islanders. So I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah. I'm excited about this. I've been excited for the last few days. Watched the subject again in preparation for it, and this is going to be a bit of a different episode, but we are going to talk about a bunch of Weird Islanders, some of which we've covered before, some of which are new, and some of which are coming up later this season. So stick around to the end. We're going to reveal an episode that's coming up later this season that is tied to this subject that we're going to talk about today. But let's bring on our featured guest. He's been on this show before, and his documentaries on YouTube are required viewing if you're a hockey fan. And at the end of October, he put out a documentary called The Last Days of Bedlam, about the 2006-2007 New York Islanders. It is our friend Pinholes Graham. Pinholes, how are you doing this evening?
Hey, Dan, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you again for coming on. The documentary is amazing. We're going to ask you a ton of questions about the how and whys, and get into some specific players that you covered in this the show. I do want to stop right here because if you are listening to this and you have not yet watched Last Days of Bedlam, turn this podcast off, go to YouTube on your computer or TV or phone or tablet or what have you, and watch the documentary. Even if you watch it again, and then come back and listen to us, because if you listen to us without having watched it, some of this might not make sense. And it is also an amazing watch. So turn this off, go watch the documentary, and then come back. We'll be here, I promise. Okay, you're back. Great. Wasn't that documentary amazing? It was, right?
Yes, it's I think one of the funniest things about the documentary and the feedback that I got just in my circles is that I would send the link to people who weren't familiar yet with your work yet, Pinholes, and I'd send the link and they'd probably see it and be like, all right, like, what is Leboff sending me? Like something about the 2006-07 Islanders again. Like I'll see it in a minute. And then they'd click on it and be like, oh my God, it's 90 minutes long. I need to watch this right now. And I think that was one of the most telling signs that people that this was going to be a true work of art, was the length of it. And Dan's telling you to go watch a 90-minute documentary. I think this is one of those situations where you look at it and you say, well, if this was 15 minutes long, you'd say, well, there's no way you can cover this season in 15 minutes. Heck, we almost didn't get through all of it in 90 minutes. Like there's still, I'm sure there's some stuff on the cutting room floor, right? And once I got that reaction from a bunch of people, and it wasn't like, oh God, I got to watch something for 90 minutes. It was like, oh wow, like this gentleman is obviously giving this season its due if it's 90 minutes long, and that is what made it required viewing. And it is. I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but I think you can learn so much about the Islander fan culture, the fan base, how like Long Island culture, from this season. I think you can learn more from it than you would from learning about the dynasty years if you weren't around for them. Just because this is, we've covered champions. Like every market has a champion story, and they all kind of, obviously that one was unique and wonderful, but you don't learn so much about yourself when you're at the top. But when you're in the muck and in the weirdness of something like this, that's when you really, the true colors got shown. And I think very
insightful.
Yeah. And I think the season really did show what the team and the fan base and this like franchise's place in the universe they're all about.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you. It's funny that you bring up the length as kind of a step one towards respectability, because as I was editing it, I mean, my videos have just been getting longer and longer against my will. My first, in quotes, long videos were like 40 minutes or something. And then I had a couple that like were squeaking up to an hour. And then Yesteryear 4 about the inaugural Capitals was an hour 20. And this one was an hour and a half. I mean, that's like Casablanca. That's like a 1940s movie length.
But it needed to be. Because
yeah.
Like, and that's what I want to start with. And that's sort of like what, at first I was like, I can't wait to watch this. And then I was like, Last Days of Bedlam. I don't even understand what that title means. And as I watched it again, and I was very much an adult when this season happened. So I thought I remembered a lot about it, but it turns out I didn't. And not only did you get all these facts in there that, again, needed time to be included, but it covers just a lot about the sort of Islanders fan experience and what it was like at the time and what all this meant given the previous context and what it would mean after the season was over in the larger NHL context. And the fact that this season was so crazy that none of these things will ever happen again as the first time. Like, as you say at the end of the video, like there will never be another backup goalie turned general manager that would be the first. Like, we've seen it happen. Like, the next guy will not be the first guy to do that. There won't ever be a guy who gets a 5-day contract signed at the end of the season, a
Right.
5-game contract. Like, I never thought of it that way. And I watched this season. Like, that to me was mind boggling.
Oh, that was, yeah. So that these are the last days of Bedlam thing. That truth, I guess, is kind of twofold. The first half is obviously what you mentioned there, that like it'll never happen again for the first time, but also that all of them happened at once,
Right.
which is ridiculous. I mean, there might be a season where like 2, maybe 3 of those things or something similar to them happened, but like there was like 9 or 10 of, Wong being the owner he is, the DiPietro contract, the Darren Quint contract, which are, as night and day as it gets when it comes to contracts.
Yes.
The unceremonious ending after the hilarity of the season, the context around the zeitgeist of Long Island really needing like a superstar player, like a face of their franchise, where like Yashin fell through, and then it kind of being in between Yashin and DiPietro. The Ryan Smyth trade, like everything at once, just no way. There's no way. And it made me amazed that I had never heard of this season really before. Funny enough, the very first time I heard of this season was when I was researching one of the playoffs past that I did. I think it was Rangers Thrashers, because that was also 2007.
Yeah.
Sucks for both the Islanders and the Thrashers, by the way, that matchup happened the way it did.
I know.
In any case, first time I ever heard about this Islanders season was just in the results of Google as I was searching, the 2007 Thrashers Rangers season. And I think it was a Lighthouse Hockey page. I'm not sure. It kind of looked like a, one of those old SB Nation format pages, but it was called Reliving the Wild Final Week of the 06-07 Islanders season. And I didn't read it, but I was like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. And so I bookmarked it, and it just kind of fell out of mind. And then once, I started listening to Weird Islanders, and once you guys brought it up to me, then I rediscovered it again, and I'm like, oh. The more I looked into it, I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. What the heck?
Yeah.
It's I mean, I really... Oh yeah. I really hope, if I've done my job, I really hope that people who are coming to that season for the first time have that exact same reaction of like, oh wow, that's crazy. Wow, that's also crazy. Oh, okay, why is it still crazy?
Yeah.
Like what? And it just snowballs from there. It's insane.
Yeah. And I think you do a really good job of capturing exactly the experience you just had, which is that it was a very solitary experience for us on Long Island, because you look at it, just if you looked at the standings every day as a Dallas Stars fan, you're like, oh, they're the Islanders kind of just hanging around the playoff picture. Oh, they lost in 5 to the juggernaut Sabres. That all makes sense. And why would you dig any deeper than that if you're a Dallas Stars fan? But when you do, and you see what was going on, and the first kind of, I guess you call chapter act of the video, you explain how, it's basically a how we got there, why the Islanders were in the position they were in, and stuff, and that section, which is 15 minutes long before the season, you really get into the season. So much weird stuff happens before the puck is even dropped. That would have been enough. That would have been enough for just to do a documentary on the insane offseason that the Islanders had, the month of July 2006 for the New York Islanders, and it ends up being like the 3rd or 4th weirdest thing that happens to them that entire season.
The season gets so far from there that you almost forget about it, but it's important. And it's also, I feel like this is a good time to jump in and say that you did interview Mike and I and our friend Isles Den as well for some research purposes here.
And you were wonderful.
Thank you. We had a great time. We did them separately. And I think that was sort of like my primary purpose, was to kind of like lay in a lot of that context about the fact they had 4 owners go to prison before all of this happened. And
so dumb. I still can't believe that.
It's crazy. And like, the people always ask still to this day, how was Mike Milbury in charge for this long, even though every movie made was like disastrous? It's like, because he had no boss, like nobody there was there, controlling the wheel to be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, and even when Wong bought the team, Wong didn't know anything about hockey that Mike Milbury didn't teach him. So like, I felt like it was important to kind of put all this stuff in there. I didn't expect all of it to be in there, but it is an incredible like preamble to the madness that would come on the ice. Mm-hmm. And again, I think it's really important. The context is really important. Like it kind of ends with the Smith, the Neil Smith to Garth Snow transition. And like the 40 days of Neil Smith giving way to Garth Snow. We almost got the job the year before, as you noted. Like, what were your thoughts when you started researching that? Because again, everybody knows Garth Snow was the Islanders GM. Some people know that Neil Smith was the only GM for 40 days. I was able to interview Neil Smith. He was great and was very open about what happened there. But like, I feel like going back and looking at that stuff, 20 years later has got to be like, this didn't really happen, did it?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I usually, when I discover an interesting tidbit like that, or when it's so graciously mentioned to me by interviewees, usually the first thing my mind does is go to, how am I going to present this in the video? Well, I think I emailed one or two of you, but I mentioned I almost want to do a double take. Like I want to scroll through the developments of, we have Nolan as head coach, Wong as president, Snow as GM, and then just keep rolling through and then be like, wait a minute, what? And then go back and then go back to Snow as the GM and then explain it that way. So that was kind of how I was framing all of my, I was going to be looking at stuff that just sort of portrayed Snow as, he's just the GM now, not like, wow, this is insane or anything. It was just going to be like the fact was stated, and that would help ram that point home. But then I decided the best way to do this, to show it to people in 2025, is to emulate how it was shown to people in 2007, which is just like, bam. Yeah. I mean, that's what spoilers if you didn't follow Dan's advice and you didn't click away, but that's what the transition is. It's a slow zoom out on, Neil Smith and all his accomplished anarchy in Long Island.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally the headline. Your brain like needs to take a second to be like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then just the headline of GM replaced by backup goalie Garth Snow. That cannot be. Those words do not fit together in the English language. It's just ridiculous. So that's how I went about it. I usually have the end goal in mind.
And I'm glad you mentioned the. Obviously, it was handled this way because it was a circus at the time. I think it was Elliot Friedman who called it a circus or something, and you mentioned that, and I think that is part of why the Islanders were sort of just abandoned for the season they never had a huge media contingent, but when you're writing a story this bizarre, as they were in the season, you'd think that, especially in that era when sports media was still on relatively stable footing, like places had money to spend to be like, hey, I need you to travel to Long Island to see what the hell's going on there. That you would have thought that this would have bled into the mainstream more than just like a peek over the shoulder, be like, look, like the Islanders were just a really rambunctious like toddler in a playground, and they're like, well, look at that little kid, like he's eating dirt, like just leave him alone. Like we'll just make sure he's still okay in like 15 minutes, and that's basically
what
how
are his parents doing? Oh,
yeah.
they're getting arrested for
they're
fraud.
all in jail.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So I appreciated that little tidbit. I mean, and this entire documentary, like you really, as someone who, this was when I was 16, 17, basically. So right in my wheelhouse as a fan. And I basically remember every moment, and I don't know the games that I was there. Dan and I were recording a podcast the other day, and I remember that Johan Holmquist was the goalie for a Weird Islander we're going to cover later, when he scored his only goal for the Islanders. And there would be points in the documentary where I'd be like, oh, I wonder if he's going to bring up that this happened. And then as soon as that thought came into my mind, there you were doing it. And that's, so that's not even and I'm not even talking about like things that happened, but also like in terms of just how the season was covered by the mainstream media, or how as fans we felt. And of course the true star of the documentary is not a New York Islander, but a Long Islander, one of the best Long Islanders out there, and that's the Big Duck out there in Flanders. And
Of course.
yeah,
Of course.
we're gonna have to get this in front of the folks who run that. I don't even know who runs it, but we'll it was such an unbelievable touch. And I know one that really resonated with a lot of people here on the island.
I hope it wasn't too contrived of a
No.
metaphor.
No, when it showed up, I was like, this is gonna be great. I can't wait to see how and then I'm like, oh wow, that's really a touching way to fit the Big Duck into all this, and it makes a ton of sense. And I'm glad that duck got in front of a lot of people who have no idea what the Big Duck is, and that they probably went to the Wikipedia page or to the website, and the people who run that are like, I wonder why we just got so much traffic from Banff, Alberta.
Yeah, there's a lot of Long Island in it. Obviously, there's a lot of Islanders in it, but there's a lot of Long Island touches in it. The Big Duck is one. The road signs from like the Southern State Parkway or whatever are also there too, for every month, which is really cool. Just the mentions of Nassau Coliseum and like how it was such a historic place and everything. You did, of course, include the arrival of Ryan Smyth to Long Island in an almost empty LaGuardia Airport, which is very much part of the Metro New York, Long Island, Brooklyn, Queens experience. But yeah, no, that was really cool to see, and again, really drove home what made this team so special, and at least kind of is well remembered to us. So I definitely appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. I owe a lot to you guys because you were really good in your interviews and you went very in depth and everything. Dan, I'm pretty sure you're the one who pointed out, or maybe it was both of you. You pointed out to me the existence of that documentary that had both feeds. So
yeah,
props where it's due. And the second thing, that guy with the mustache who shakes Ryan Smith's hand in that video?
Yeah.
He's wearing the most odd combination of sportswear ever. So he's got a New York Mets hat on, which I guess makes sense. Right. But he's wearing a windbreaker for the Miami Dolphins. It's just it's so. I mean, if you're coming from Edmonton Airport, it's gonna be all Islanders. Maybe there's a traitorous Calgary Flame in there somewhere. But figuratively, and I only mean this figuratively in a hockey sense, I think I say in the video, Ryan Smyth went from a place where he was the star athlete to somewhere the hockey world barely considered a place. Yeah. And I think seeing that guy in the most mismatched sports apparel ever really hammered that home. And I didn't even notice it till I finished the video.
Well, see, what's funny is like to you, the outside observer, that is odd, but like to me, and I'm sure Mike as well, like we know fans, yes, New Yorkers are sports fans. A lot of them are, but like there's a ton of Cowboys fans here in New Jersey where I live. And like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like I get not wanting to root for the Giants or Jets, but like the Cowboys really like, who's a big team in New York because they're always on NBC is Notre Dame. Like how many New Yorkers, how many people on Long Island or in different parts of New York root for Notre Dame because they're always on NBC and they're never going to be in Indiana, right? Or whatever. So it's like
Midwest somewhere.
Yeah. So like nobody's ever going to go there, but they watch it a lot. And so they're always on TV, but yeah, no, that I always thought the guy had a Jets hat on. So now you're kind of blowing my mind again.
It's such a great touch though. And it's like going to a restaurant and like a nice restaurant and maybe they like serve you the bread is good, the pre-dinner bread, or they give you like a palate cleanser at the end, or maybe they throw like a free dessert on if you've spent some money. You're like, oh, that was a nice touch. And I think that this documentary is full of these nice little touches, including that juxtaposition of the airport scenes. That little bit of footage, that juxtaposition, that explains basically everything you need to know about the NHL landscape. Like everything. You're just wow, this guy is crying at an airport leaving Edmonton. There's people like chanting his name. He's crying. He is sobbing. He is sobbing. Like he is to the point where he was made mocked for it for the rest of his career by
that's so dumb
Flames fans, right? Yeah, he's like whimpering. And then he gets to Long Island, and you think that the flight from Edmonton's probably like 5 hours, 6 hours, whatever it is. That entire flight, he's probably like, man, I wonder if the island, like what's gonna be waiting for me in LaGuardia. And it's just, as you said in the video, it's not even worth the crickets. Like, it's just so
Yeah.
it's so good, and it really does. It's something I've tried to drive home to people in Canada all the time. I'm like, you do not understand how little the Islanders matter here to like the grand scheme of things. And that little bit of footage kind of explains it perfectly. He went, as you said, he was number one in Edmonton. He was the face of the city, of the sporting culture in Edmonton. And he lands in New York in February 2007. He was probably like the 93rd most important athlete in the New York metro area at the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Former Edmonton Oiler Ryan Smyth was an out-and-out star. One of the most skilled power forwards in the league for a long time and a perfect top-line fixture for any playoff team. The fact that a true number one forward, particularly him, was coming to the island was just insane. It wasn't so much that the Islanders were able to land Smyth as it was that the Oilers GM Kevin Lowe was already familiar with trading with the Islanders, so he kind of sheepishly orchestrated this trade at the 11th hour. Why sheepishly, you say? Because Ryan Smyth is one of the most beloved non-generational talents in NHL history. It should say something that on Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier's team, he bears the nickname Captain Canada. He was drafted by the Oilers 13 years prior, a blue-collar type player for a blue-collar city. He'd won gold medals for Canada in 2002 and IHF Worlds in 2003 and 2004. He was magnanimous to the fans and active in the Edmonton community. It cannot be understated how important he was to the city of Edmonton, how important it was to him. Nobody in 1,000 years thought he would ever wear a uniform other than that of the Oilers. In the prior season, Smyth, Bergeron, and the Oilers were one game away from winning the Stanley Cup. And now their most beloved player and their best player was gone less than a year later.
Unless you were an Islanders fan, you didn't understand why this was such a big deal. Meanwhile,
Or
Islanders
Dolphins
fans,
fan.
Yeah, or Cats. But like, meanwhile, Islanders fans are like, I can't believe we got Ryan Smyth. How is this even possible?
I should have been at the airport. Like, I probably should have been there.
That's fine. I remember being on the phone with my friends being like, I can't believe this happened. This is crazy. But the Smyth thing was improbable. It made no sense at the time, and you did a great job of kind of like showing why that all was. And now a word from our sponsors. VintageIceHockey.com. Over 100 classic hockey logos on t-shirts, jerseys, hats, mugs, and more. Long Island Ducks, Albany Riverettes, Danbury Trashers, Kentucky Thoroughblades, and so many more. Plus a full line of Islanders Anxiety merch with our portion of the sales going directly to the Center for Dementia Research. These incredible items cannot be found in stores, so shop VintageIceHockey.com today. Relax, sit back, and enjoy wine from The Pinot Project. Rosé, Pinot Grigio, or a Pinot Noir that was named a Best Buy by Wine Enthusiast magazine. These wines are delicious, affordable, and available at area wine shops and at UBS Arena. Learn more at thepinotproject.com, and please drink responsibly. One of my other favorite parts of this video is when you described or discussed a guy. Again, we did an episode on just last year that was a ton of fun, and that is the man you described as Maverick Weirdo Marc-Andre Bergeron, which is probably the best way to describe him. An insane unicorn of a player, a short guy who could skate and was just absolutely insane on the power play. I don't know if we'll ever see a player like that again. He was a one of one, and there's a reason why he played for 100 different teams, because everybody was always looking for help on the power play. And I was glad to see, I mean, we gave him an entire episode of our show because that's what we do, but I was glad to see him get a lot of play in this doc too, because again, much like with DiPietro, I feel like his impact is kind of muted in the fact, he's that little guy who played on a bunch of different teams. And maybe if you're an Oilers fan, you remember him, or one of the other teams he played on, you remember him like a fun guy. The Oilers went to the Cup final that one year with him. But like for us, he was like, I mean, they might as well just acquired Bobby Orr. Like he just changed everything about this team as soon as he landed. It was crazy.
Marc-Andre Bergeron filled an immediate and pressing need for the Islanders, being a defenseman, but specifically an offensive puck-moving defenseman with a lot of time on the power play. Back then, everybody that wasn't the Capitals had 2 defensemen on the power play, so Sean freaking Hill was the guy trying to feed Tom Poti at the point. No longer. Bergeron gave the power play a completely different look, a threat from both points. Bergeron saw that man advantage time because he was a small guy that carried a very, very large gun.
Gomez to Bergeron, he scores! Back out to Bergeron, he'll fire a shot, he scores! Subban slides it, score! Bergeron! Torres to Bergeron, hits the room, quick shot, scores! Bergeron scores! Whoa! Takes another look, here's Bergeron, line, fires a shot, scores!
He had 2 assists in that first game he arrived. Like, short of a goal. Like, I mean, that's as good as you can ask for.
Right.
And this is where the quality of the interviews with you guys and Jack from Miles Den was so important and so crucial, and just research is important in general, because I never would have picked up on that if I hadn't interviewed you guys. So to all you aspiring documentarians out there, getting a pulse from the people who were there is 10 times better than any newspaper clipping you can pull. Reddit comes in second, sadly.
There were some moments where I was truly getting choked up, and at very odd moments, I'm like, what's going on? Why is this making me so emotional? And the Marc-Andre Bergeron trade reveal, because you do a very good job of traumatizing Marc-Andre Bergeron. You know, there's a very nifty little bit of film work in there before you reveal who they traded for. And it's Marc-Andre Bergeron, who is like just a journeyman NHLer to most people, but to us, as you kind of drive home just by doing that, we're like, yeah, this was a huge deal. And I was at that game, that first game he played. That was that Penguins game, I believe. And it was, you said it, like, maverick weirdo. Never saw a player like that come to the Islanders in my life. Just completely flipped the power play into something. Instead of the power play running through Tom Poti, all of a sudden there was running through a guy who could fire a puck from everywhere. And Poti was awesome that whole season. So I'm not no shade at him, but yeah, that was one of the moments in the video where I was like, oh my God, like I'm getting chills and crying, because it brought back the memories of how excited I was that the Islanders acquired Marc-Andre Bergeron. And once again, you did a great job of providing some context, which was that, not saying that people in Edmonton wanted to drive him to the airport, but they were not upset seeing him go, because they held the injury to who was it, Dwayne Rolison against Bergeron, even though he was really good for them in that playoff run.
You know, 2 things about the Marc-Andre Bergeron section. This was very subtle. I don't know if you noticed it, but one thing about the reveal of him that I wanted to, aside from the dramatization, you know, kind of hinting like, okay, this guy's gonna do something. I don't know who he is, but let's, hold on to your seats. Aside from that, to that point in the video, nobody else had the bullseye, the target icon as their skill thing. I sort of pulled that from kind of NHL 04. The graphics aren't exactly the same, but sort of the early 2000s aesthetic of, like, this is an attribute or whatever.
Right.
I think the only other guy to that point was either Blake or Yashin. I don't remember which.
I think it was Yashin, because I remember that. Yeah, because I remember seeing that, like, didn't the video game have this?
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. Yeah, I noticed those kinds of little details there.
So Bergeron being the first target you've seen in forever, being like, so that hopefully that was something that, like, subliminally contributed to that. The last thing I want to bring up about Bergeron is that, as you mentioned, he's, a super unique player. And as I was, writing up to this point, I wasn't quite at this section yet. I think it was the start of chapter 4 or something. As I was doing research up to this point in the season, I just kept dreading, like, man, I know I'm not going to be able to find any footage of Marc-Andre Bergeron being weird. I'm sure I can find footage of him blasting the puck, but I mean, him pirouetting along the half boards when there's no one even close to him on the power play is not something I'm going to find in any clips. oh,
Right.
look, there's him pirouetting against the half-boards and no one's close to him on the power play. I found like maybe three or four, which isn't that many, all things considered, but it's more than enough for the video. There's another clip where the Islanders have, I think Ryan Smyth is behind the net.
Yes.
There are 3 Islanders in the crease and 3 of the defending team, whoever they are. It's just like a log jam in front of the net. And for some reason, dude, Bergeron just like shoots towards, he just skates into everybody.
Yeah.
Thinking like, I'm going to join this party. Like, why? It's such a bad idea. Like, no one else is back, because I think it was a 5-on-4, and like one of their penalty killers would have been all alone, but he just taps in a goal. But it was like what are you doing?
He was
bizarre.
This is a very dated reference, but if he was playing, I guess a few years ago, he would be like a honey badger. Like, he doesn't care, right? He's just going out there and doing his thing.
Takes what he wants.
Just takes what he wants, right? And it was great. I wish he had spent more time with the Islanders. But I think I was more excited to get him than I was Smith of the 2 Oilers trades, because I was like, Smith was almost surreal, but this guy was like, man, this guy is awesome. I love him.
Everyone likes fun. Fun always trumps well-roundedness, which is why people, I think, on the whole, on balance, like Alex Ovechkin more than they like Sidney Crosby, because he's more fun.
One guy's more fun for sure. And Bergeron is nothing if not fun, right?
I hope you don't get any hate comments from me saying that.
No, that's
no. That's right. We're definitely on that side of the fence too. So
definitely
you're safe here.
Yeah.
Well, thank God.
On the opposite side of the fun defenseman conversation is, again, another guy we've had on our first ever actual Islander we've had on the show, and that is Deron Quint. And no offense to Deron Quint, he was great when he came on with us. He gave us a lot of time. I don't think even he would consider himself a fun player. He was a defensive defenseman. Never really scored that many goals, and came to the Islanders in maybe the strangest circumstances anybody's ever come to the Islanders. I love that you mentioned the Todd Simpson thing, and that the NHL upheld his suspension in Germany for the first and only ever time in anybody's career, which is insane. So here comes Deron Quint on a 5-game contract. And I love when I see something and I'm like, damn, I wish I had thought of that. The fact that you list Quint as plan F for the, the plan A, plan B.
Here's how brutal the defensive depth situation was for Garth Snow this year. Joel Bouchard missed the whole season, Alexei Zhitnik was traded, and Radek Martinic was out injured for the whole back half of the season. And almost every backup option Snow could have had failed. Plan A was Chris Campoli, but he started the season injured. Plan B was Bruno Gervais, but he ended the season injured. Plan C was Freddie Meyer, but he also ended the season injured. Plan D was minor leaguer Alan Rourke, but he just didn't cut it. The best their AHL squad could offer was a 20-year-old Andy McDonald with 3 professional games of experience. So let's go overseas. Plan E was Todd Simpson, but he was suspended, so at best, Deron Quint was Plan F.
He was Plan F. Oh my God, I was killing
me.
I so wish I had thought of that. Yeah, maybe not even. We don't know what Garth Snow
I couldn't believe that Alan Rourke got a mention.
Yeah,
because I talk about this game probably once a season on Islanders Anxiety. It was the most unfortunate. I don't know if it was his first game with the team of that season or whatever, but it was right around New Year's, and they were playing the Devils, and it was a pretty tight checking dead puck era Devils game, and Brodor's playing really well, DiPietro's playing really well, and someone just flutters a puck towards the Islanders' goal, and Alan Rourke decides the best idea is to swat at it with his glove, and he just puts it right past Rick, and that ends up being the game winner. And that was really the end of Alan Rourke's NHL career, and just seeing him get mentioned, man, that was a really big one for me. To be like, okay, like this thing is now moving up into some rarefied air in terms of things that I've watched of this length, because there's Alan Rourke and his goatee on this thing, and I don't think you had it listed as like Plan C, so there was still a couple more steps to go till we got to Deron Quint.
Right.
Yeah, that goatee is like the facial hair version of Frosted Tips from that time period.
Yeah, seriously. Alan Rourke is definitely going to get an episode in this show at some point. But yeah, no, the Quint thing is still, again, and we've talked to the guy himself, and it's just an amazing thing that he had been in Germany or been overseas for 3 years. And Garth Snow called him up and was like, hey, you want to come play in the NHL for 5 games? You can't play in the playoffs. And he was like, yeah, sure.
How did they even think of that? Who even thinks like, let's go not only overseas, but to someone who hasn't been in the league for that long? You think their first priority would be someone who like just left or something?
No, it was that, and it really is it was a condemnation of whatever was going on in Bridgeport that season, because the fact that the Islanders are like, well, we can't call up the guy who just threw a puck in our own net, and as you noted, Andrew McDonald was very, very new into his professional career, and you look at some of the other names.
I didn't realize Campoli was on that team too.
Yeah, Campoli, Gervais, like they were getting hurt. Is like your options were. Essentially, Deron go overseas to Darren Quint or pray that I don't even know, like Rick Berry or Drew Fada we're going to be able to do a job, and they were like, we'll just go with Darren Quint, even though he's on his couch in New Hampshire right now.
Yeah, the thing, one thing I will give Darren Quint is that I usually couldn't see the full games. I only saw highlight packs. Shout out to Sab, who's a wonderful archivist of all
our
good
friend.
Things.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't see the full games, but from what I could tell, like whenever he only played, I think like 8 minutes a night or something, which is like a, ninth defenseman level numbers. But when he was on the ice, it seemed like everybody scored for either team. Like, I remember just watching, I think it was the game against Toronto, and then like the celebratory goal hugs after Jason Blake scored and Asham scored. Like Darren Quint showed up multiple times. I'm like, he's there.
It's so funny that you say that, because I have the same exact memory of him. I don't know if we brought it up to him when he did our episode, because I didn't want to be like, I just always remember you being in goal hugs. And there, the Richard Park one, like there's number 21
too.
There's number 21 Quint skating into your picture, and on one of the biggest goals of the season, or the biggest goal, I guess, of the season, bar shootouts. Like that's exactly what I think of. Like he played like 8 minutes a night or whatever they ended up giving him, and lo and behold, the Islanders would score a big goal, and there he is skating in and being like, "Hey guys, I'm Deron, by the way." Like,
yeah. But he would also be on the ice for. I think it evened out because he'd be on the ice for goals against. Like Eric Comrie scored a goal of the year candidate.
He got
just made him look silly.
Yes. Yeah.
So I kind of want to imagine that every time Darren Quint goes on the ice, one of the other opponent skaters just disappears off the face of the earth, and it's 4-on-4.
Yeah.
It opens everything up for more goals.
Yeah. That team, like you said, that team was fun, and just insane. Like just nothing made sense about it. It was Bedlam, like literally Bedlam. And that brings me to a guy who we've talked about guys we've had great memories of, Bergeron, even Darren Quint, who, seemed to be in the middle of everything for 5 games. However, not all of these guys we have a ton of fond memories of. One of those guys is a guy I'm surprised we haven't done an episode of yet, of Weird Islanders, the podcast, and that is Mike Dunham.
Yes.
First of all, I thank you for mentioning the Maine Mafia, because that is a term we used for years, because he would become the Islanders goaltending coach for a while.
I got to be honest, I didn't know that was a U2 original. I just assumed it was a thing, but I like it. It should be a thing.
Oh, we didn't make that. That was a Lighthouse Hockey thing.
Yeah,
so
that was just
all the same.
Right.
Hopefully I have helped introduce it into the lexicon.
I hope so. But watching him play, of all the and it comes towards the end of the video, but like that moment is what really transported me back to this season. Was watching Mike Dunham, and it's funny. What emotions kind of spark different things, and like, if I was triggered or whatever, but like the hatred I felt for Mike Dunham immediately came right back. And I was like, oh my God, I remember this, and watching this guy who was, well older at the time, flailing around and thinking, this son of a bitch is going to cost the Islanders a playoff spot.
Yeah.
And he almost did. And that of all the things I was watching, I was like, this is great. That moment right there, I was like, I remember watching these games and thinking, oh my God, this is it. They're done. They can't make it through with this guy. This was, of course, before, Wade Dubielewicz did his thing. We'll get to him in a minute. But this was something else. And the way you presented it was amazing. And was this where you used Rick Jeanneret as the sort of like continuous goal? And it's almost like, it's like the Halloween theme, only it's Rick Jeanneret going, goal, like for like a minute.
Yes.
Brilliant work. Sound. Brilliant editing work. Amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, so with Mike Dunham, I think that section, I think it was like a week and a half, sandwiching like the 2 or 3 games where DiPietro came back. I think most fans at some point in their life have watched their team in a position that would otherwise be very hopeful just get absolutely had the rug pulled out from under them at light speed by the tough goaltending. I called it in the video, I called it poetry in downwards motion because it was just so like predictable, almost like you could predict a rhyme. Mike Dunham, if you're listening, I'm sorry. If once he went down, like it's over. Like you could just wrap the puck around. He just doesn't cover the post.
No,
he's just not quick enough. And
he hit the deck immediately. Yeah,
I kid you not. In I think it was maybe 5 or 6 games that montage was going for. Not consecutive necessarily, but I think in those like half dozen games or so, I think there was a grand total of maybe a half dozen of those goals where like he just didn't cover a wraparound in time, and like on average, allowing one of those kinds of goals a game is that's bad. That's really bad. And like I said, most fans have lived through that kind of snowballing like panic, and that's what it feels like. It feels like all you remember is the bottom dropping out here, the bottom dropping out there, the bottom dropping out in the next game. So the quick montage of all that happening, I felt was the best way to get that across, or to remind people of what that's like.
Dan has noted in our show sheet here, like he said Mike Dunham PTSD, and I remember exactly where I was when they lost to the Panthers in the game that he played. They lost 8-5 to the Panthers, and the Islanders. That might have been one of their best games they played all season.
Yes, exactly.
They were playing.
They kept coming back. Yeah,
yeah. They took like the game didn't mean anything to the Panthers. The Islanders come out. I think they went down early because Mike Dunham was in goal, but like they were just totally in charge. Like Sillinger scoring, Smyth is scoring, Bergeron scoring. That Sillinger and Smyth each had 2 goals in this game. And Marc-Andre Bergeron scored the other one for the Islanders, and they scored like 3 power play goals. They played so well in this game, and Mike Dunham gave up a goal. Anytime the Panthers were across the blue line, they would just flip it at him, and it would end up in the back of the net. And I was at my buddy Ryan's house. It was St. Patrick's Day, 2007, and so I'm 17. We're just like at the point where we're like, oh, we're gonna go get some Guinness or whatever and go drink in a dark field, and I was like, I gotta watch this Islander game first. Like, and I basically held up my buddies from going out on St. Patrick's Day because I was like, I gotta watch the Islanders play the Panthers, and I was miserable the whole night because I watched Mike Dunham, as Dan said, like I'm pretty sure he just torpedoed the season by squandering this game on his own. I never want to see this guy play again. I was so mad, and so seeing some of the goals that went in against him in that particular game again, does transport you back. And I can recall the exact feeling that I felt watching that game in his den and being miserable about this. And them, they weren't Islander fans. They don't care. They're like, you're such a loser for being this mad about this one game.
What a nerd.
Yeah, exactly.
2 things stand out to me about both that game and that stretch. The first one is in that 8-5 game. Do you know who the Florida goalie was? It was a 41-year-old Eddie Belfour.
Oh my God!
Like, how can you be more washed than that? I mean, no disrespect to Eddie Belfour, he's a Hall of Fame goalie, but like 41 years old. That's tough. Just to bring us back a little bit from the Dunham beatings in the Buffalo game, I do think he got left out to dry a bit. There were like 3 breakaways, and against the Sabres, that's tough to come back from.
And he did score them their first win of the season, right? Like in all the way back in October. So he stopped the season
47
opening.
Saves against Anaheim, and that's like he was decent enough in like in every other part of the season. It's just when it mattered the most, just
fell apart.
I totally believe that the defense let him down. I mean, again, this was a defense that had pulling guys like Deron Quint out of Europe, to come play for them. And, they couldn't make guys like Alan Rourke work or whatever. But like at the same time, it's not like he was good before, like, earlier in the season either. He was just plain not good. Again, nothing snaps you back to that moment than just yelling at a goalie, because they're the guys who can take the most abuse, right? And it's just like that immediately brought me right back.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. Black Friday Game Day on Prime is an epic day of live sports. It all starts at 9 a.m. Eastern with the Capital One Skins game. Then, Black Friday football returns when the Bears take on the Eagles at 3 p.m. And it culminates with the final night of Emirates NBA Cup Group play with Bucks Knicks at 7 p.m. and Mavs Lakers at 10 p.m. Black Friday Game Day, only on Prime.
Get Popeye's Scary Good Freddy Fazbear Box with garlic palm tenders and cheesy bites with marinara sauce. Or try the deluxe box with the Cupcake Cup and a 20-ounce drink and see Five Nights at Freddy's 2, only in theaters. Love that chicken from Popeyes. Limited time at participating U.S. restaurants.
Okay, Chad. Today you're gonna drive the all-electric Toyota BZ.
But my electric vehicle phobia. I'm not ready, Dr. Ross.
I believe in you.
Oh my gosh. We're inside it.
Try to take deep breaths, okay?
The ventilated seats, they're touching me.
You can do this, Chad. Drive the car. How do you feel, Chad?
I feel cured. Woohoo! I'm doing it!
The all-electric BZ. One drive can change your mind. Toyota. Let's go places.
The who's down in Who Newville were making their list, but some didn't know Walmart has the best brands for their gifts.
What about toys? Do they have brands kids have been wanting all year?
Yep, Barbie, Tony's, and Lego. Gifts that will make them all cheer.
Do you mean they have all the brands I adore?
They have Nintendo, Nespresso, Apple, and more.
What about...
So the Who answered questions from friends till they were blue. Each one listened and shouted, from Walmart? Who knew? Shop gifts from top brands for everyone on your list in the Walmart app.
This episode is brought to you by eBay. Buying parts for your car? You'll know that will it work feeling. But on eBay, buying parts is different. eBay's free returns means if it doesn't fit, or if it isn't what you expected, you just print a label, drop it off, and get your refund fast. No haggling, no stress, and at least 30 days to return any eligible item. Millions of parts, free returns. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
As again, as the opposite to the Mike Dunham experience was the very brief but very exciting Wade Dubielewicz experience. And if you have listened to us, whether it's Weird Islanders, whether it's Islanders Anxiety, you know that we are huge fans of Dubielewicz to this day. You do some amazing work here. You have, I didn't even think about this because we all remember the poke check on Sergei Brylin in the final game of the season. What I did not remember was him utilizing that poke check throughout the season, the other times he got brought up, and including the run-up to that moment, which I thought was beautiful foreshadowing as well. And you also got into the sort of, the legend of Doobie, the fact that this guy came in, rescued their season, got them to the playoffs, sort of turned back into a pumpkin once the playoffs started, and then for the most part just sort of disappeared. The next thing you know, he was back in Bridgeport, then he was in Columbus, and then 20 years go by and he's like sending the Islanders videos from an oil rig somewhere. We still have no idea where he's from, where he was coming in from as they were going to the playoffs. So like, it's just this amazing player that, again, much like the rest of this team and this entire season, the greater hockey world just doesn't really know. Like, they know the name, they know, maybe remember the clip, but like for you to get into this legend of Dubielewicz, like what was that like? I mean, how much did you know going in, and like what were your thoughts coming out? Like, oh my God, is this one of the best players in the history of the NHL?
Well, I didn't know too much about him. In the back of my head, the closest real life experience that I've lived through that I could maybe come at that angle from was Charlie Lindgren in 2024. But that's not even close. I mean, Lindgren was really good in like midway through February, midway through March, about that month span in 2024 to help keep us in the playoff race. And obviously the Caps squeezed in the very last game. But like, that completely pales in comparison to, last 4 games of that crazy season with that crazy ending. Like nothing's ever going to be, I doubt few things can be a cooler, more legendary folk hero moment than that. Bring it back to your point about the foreshadowing for the poke check, where he gets Gianta, I think, before Brylin with the same poke check. I say in the video, Doobie, don't do that again, because that is what I would say if I was an Islander fan. I'd be like, dude,
I was gonna
what?
bring that up. That was one of my favorite little bits of the video. Was like, don't do that again, Doobie.
Brian Giunta.
Again, Dubielewicz way out. Giunta stopped, an aggressive Dubielewicz.
Stopped. Poke checked by Dubielewicz. But a poke check in this situation is just so risky. He pulled it off against the Rangers in an equally important game, but his luck had to run out at some point. Don't do that again, Doobie.
Yeah, because, like, it's... Oh, dude, pucker factor. You know what the pucker factor is?
Right.
Yeah, that when things are already so tight, I cannot stomach a poke check. I'd pass out probably. So I would be screaming at my TV like, okay, I love you so much, but don't do that again. And what do I know? Because he only did the coolest thing of the whole season, the very next play. I guess researching most of these Islanders, there is like very little ink on them. Even in local like Long Island newspapers. And now I couldn't access all of them because I don't live in New York, so I couldn't get like a library card. But from what I could find from local newspaper archives online, like nothing. Right. So I wish my depth of Dubielewicz, the man, was a little deeper. Unfortunately, it isn't.
But it's impossible to be like it. Even us, like we what we know of Doobie is essentially what was covered in the video, which is that he was a good AHL goalie, had Yoda on his mask, like and I love that you got that quote in there as well, and that he just was lights out. Like people focus so much on that poke check and like the cute little celebration he does after, which is you said like becomes the image of the season, is him screaming towards Jeff Tambellini of all people. Yeah, you know, like with his Yoda mask and this little guy. And what people kind of overlook and forget was he went 4-0 and basically stole 2 of those games in that stretch. Like the Rangers game and that Maple Leafs game, like he was the Islanders' best player and was just outrageously good. He just got white hot. He was the opposite of Dunham. Like when the Islanders needed him the most, like he just was unbelievable. I think what ended up happening just in terms of his career, the coverage just got so solely focused on 2 things. One, that poke check and the Yoda thing and the diminutive size of the man, that nobody really ever kind of went beyond it and got the full story. Because like, why would you? Like, if you were a journalist, you're like, oh man, I got some gold. This guy is telling me that like Yoda doesn't look like, nor does Yoda look like a Jedi warrior. Like that's
it's also perfect.
Right. I don't need anything else. And so that's, I think, why you don't really know too much more about him. And he did, as you said, fall off the face of the earth. He sent that video, which was a huge deal to Islander fans. And you drive that point across too. Like that meant so much to Islander fans to hear from this guy. Because as one of the themes of the whole project is like, these guys didn't really accomplish anything, right? They lost in 5 games in the first round of the playoffs as the 8th seed. But to us, they accomplished something like unbelievable, which is that everybody on this team, maybe bar 2 or 3 guys, became a cult hero. And the cultiest, heroist of them all was Doobie, the guy who showed up last.
Yeah.
Actually, Darren Quint showed up last, but Wade was not too far in the door before he did.
Right. It's unfortunate for Dubielewicz that he got pulled after game 1. He was good in game 1. I think he was the reason why it wasn't a blowout. But against the Sabres, you need like a Vezina caliber goalie to stand a chance.
Yeah.
But he was good in game 1, and it sucks for him that it ended that way. After game 1, because imagine if he was able to at least get it to maybe a second series, because then like we'd be talking about kind of the legacy that Wade Dubielewicz has, plus like the legacy that Dustin Tokarski has for the Canadians, right? Because like he's also kind of a last straw, goalie cult hero. The Hamburglar also comes to mind. But like imagine if there was the the 4 games, the poke check, and then, a healthy enough playoff run. But then again, part of me also thinks, this moment is so appropriate and so perfect in this universe that it exists in right now, where it's just the fill-in and the poke check, and then he's gone. I mean, I think that fits with, thematically with everything about this team and about what the Islanders are as a franchise. So from a storytelling standpoint, I like it the way it is. If I was an Islander fan, though, I really would have, and as a human being, I really would have hoped and wished better for Dubielewicz than what he ended up getting. But oh well.
I think Wade Dubielewicz is almost like the Stone Roses of the Islanders, and he comes out with 2 perfect albums, and then they're gone. That's it. They're just completely gone, and their legacy remains. But at the same time, they're done. That's the end of that. Probably not the best analogy, but it's close. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, you want more, but he's almost perfect the way it is. One last weird Islander before we kind of head into the home stretch here. Of all the strange things that happened in that season, I think the strangest, still to this day, because I think about this every once in a while, because I was still working at the AP at the time that this happened. Is there any single stranger event than Sean Hill getting suspended for taking PEDs? For those who don't know, Sean Hill was a defensive defenseman, had been around the league forever. He was on the 93 Canadiens Cup team. And we're talking about a season that happened in 2006. So, he had been around a long time. He played for Anaheim, Ottawa, Carolina twice, St. Louis, Florida, Minnesota. And he played 1 season with the Islanders, 81 games played, 1 goal, 24 assists. But we're coming to the end of the season. The Islanders are hoping to make the playoffs. And of all the guys on that team that could have possibly gotten, nobody in the NHL ever gets pinched for PEDs. And if you gave me 15 guesses to pick somebody on that Islanders team who would probably get picked up on that and suspended, I don't think in a million years I ever would have picked Sean Hill. Is that something that you were come on, this can't possibly, this couldn't have also happened this season too. This doesn't make any sense. How did this even, I still think about this day, how did that even happen?
So I actually got that wrong in the video. Someone in the comments corrected me, and thank you to whoever that was. But he was on boldenone, which is an anabolic steroid. So it was kind of one of the, I guess as far as steroids go, it was more what you would think of as a steroid, but
gotcha. Okay.
I don't know how much it was or anything, because a tiny amount can be whatever. I don't know.
I may have been thinking of former Capital Jose Theodore, who was suspended for taking Rogaine. That was the whole thing because of his luscious hair.
That's hilarious.
On the banned substance list. But anyway, continue.
So that the craziest thing to me, and there are many crazy things about this season. This is a very crazy thing that it happened at all, number one, but that it happened after game 4 of the Buffalo series. That's such weird timing.
Yep.
And with Sean, you mentioned Sean Hill, what? And somehow, even with all that, and with Sean Hill being who he is, just, a defensive defenseman,
right?
When he's not moonlighting as a 13-goal scorer for the Hurricanes, which he did twice, which is bizarre.
That's also bizarre, yeah.
That's somehow the 17th weirdest thing that happened this season,
I don't even know who his equivalent would be now, Ian Cole or someone, just the most nondescript NHL defenseman, and you're he's the guy that's going, he's been around forever, and he got, and that added to, I remember, being on the Mike Must Go forums, and people that entire season where the NHL is trying to screw us, and they want the Islanders to relocate, everything, to holding up to Todd Simpson suspension, and there was always things that they didn't like Teddy Nolan, and they don't want Teddy to make the playoffs or whatever. And this was another one where people are yep, of course, leave it to the NHL to screw the Islanders like this, right in the middle of a playoff series. And they yank him out of the lineup, and in that game, I think so, game 5 was Campoli played, I think Campoli played 30 minutes or something crazy like that. They didn't have anybody left, because as you noted in the Darren Quint section, this season got so absurd that they literally were just looking for warm bodies. That's all. The Islanders were are you a professional hockey player? Yes.
You have a full count of limbs.
Yeah. you're here, and they somehow got it into the playoffs. So yeah, I was glad that got mentioned. Sean Hill was running the Islanders power plays, the second unit, a lot in that season too, which really tells you where just how this team was. And I think he was. You noted at the end of the video too, like how many of those guys had shown up just for that season and then left. Like everybody just was gone. That's part of the whole kind of magic of the season and why it feels like nobody knew that this happened, because all these guys showed up and then they left. So they probably, like, where Tom Poti and Kozlov go to Washington and they're sitting there talking like Mike Green or whoever, like, you have no idea what I just went through last season.
I've seen things.
Yeah.
By the way, Tom Poti, you mentioned him. Tom Poti and Victor Kozlov, they both went to the Capitals after this season. That would have been the first season of the Rock the Red era, and the first season the Ovechkin era Capitals made the playoffs. So can you imagine going from, like, everything being insane off the ice, but no one in the wide world really caring, to everything crazy happening on the ice, and, being super hype, and everyone's riding the bandwagon of the Capitals? Like, talk about whiplash.
Yeah,
I can imagine it was a very different experience for the two. I mean, the Caps were building something, whereas the Islanders were, as you noted early in the video, and it's something we talk about all the time, just a mercenary team. Like, this was not a team really building to anything. They just were trying to make the playoffs, but any way they could, and just kind of stay alive and not move. And the Caps were in a very different kind of space at that point. So that is
the Islanders were in it was mainly because of the salary cap being implemented, but you couldn't shed contracts then like you can now, because everyone had grandfathered in all these bloated contracts from, whenever they signed the bloated contracts. So the Islanders couldn't, and teams in general just couldn't move people around to get stuff back to affect a rebuild. Rebuilding in the first couple years of the salary cap era was very hard to do, but just because no one could fit any money, there's no space to send anyone. So the Islanders had to, get people on the cheap. I thought that was super interesting, and it answered my question of, well, why not just, go for it? The opposite direction, go the distance, as it were. But they went the distance the right way.
You brought up the Capitals, and I'm glad you did, because there's one guy, the last guy I kind of want to talk about here, and that is a guy who his time with the Islanders was so short and so ineffective in a way that he didn't even make the video. He ended up on the cutting room floor, and I'm curious to see how close he came to getting in there, and that is Richard Zednik, who was acquired at the trade deadline, ended up playing 10 games for the Islanders that year, took a leave of absence, and then came back for the playoffs. We are actually going to be doing an episode on Richard Zednik later on this season on Weird Islanders, a podcast. We recorded it with Ted Starkey, who has written not one but two books on the Capitals. So we went right to the experts because we spare no expense for our listeners here on this show. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to include an excerpt from that episode that I think everybody will find very interesting about a player who was traded for Richard Zednik. I won't reveal too much, but hang around to the end of the episode to listen to that little excerpt from that upcoming episode. But I am curious about your take on Zednik. Again, you got so much in there. I'm not criticizing at all that he didn't make the cut, but I'm curious if he was close to making the cut and how you would have integrated him into this entire circus of craziness from that season.
He was very close to making the cut. And a couple other people that were close were Freddie Meyer, Alexei Zhitnik, and Mike York, who were all parts of trades. Same as Richard Zednik was, for that matter. He came close on two separate counts. The first would have been the trade to get him, because it's that was snow, so it was during the season. It was Richard Zednik for a second. One of the casualties for time, because it was 90 minutes, was an analysis of Garth Snow's first year. Because on the whole, I'd say he did really well for someone who had no executive experience. Like, he got that team to the playoffs. I pulled this quote from Mike. Sorry, Mike. It's all he could do was hit singles, but he hit all of them. Right.
Yes. Yes.
And I think, like, it's more like the quantity of acceptable trades over, the quality, I guess, of whether or not you cheese the other guy. And he made, 5 or 6 small trades that I think at the very least weren't bad, except that one. That one was not a good trade.
Yeah. No, that one was very excited at the time. Of course,
Yeah.
the
Right,
Islanders
right.
got Richard Zednik. That's a huge deal. But that was certainly a strange one. And I think it's actually, not to give too much away from that episode, but a lot of it we're just talking about. It's almost poetic. There was one guy who had basically it didn't matter if Richard Zednik ever showed up to the Islanders that season, basically.
Mhm.
And in this season where the ripple effects and the butterfly effects and the sliding doors and all those metaphors you want to use, like one thing leads to another, leads to Wade Dubielewicz, leads to Ryan Smyth, leads to Steve Beijan, like all the fate that is hanging over this entire season. There is one thing that just happens outside that entire domino effect, and it's Richard Zednik showing up, leaving, and then coming back. It was just what a totally bizarre, unremarkable stint he had for the Islanders.
Super interesting player, and his time with the Islanders was short. It didn't accomplish much, and he didn't even make it into the damn documentary. But we are going to be spending our time. We're going to give our time to Richard Zednik, which is actually the second time we've talked about him. We talked about him in a first season episode of the Reluctant Euros, all of the many European players that didn't want to play for the Islanders. We threw him in there, and even on that episode, we were like, we got to do a whole episode on Zednik. And so here we are 5 years later, finally doing that episode. So look for that later on this season. And again, hang on to the end of this episode to hear an excerpt for that. I do want to wrap it up here because, I mean, we could talk about these guys forever. And again, if you've listened to this show and you listen to Anxiety, you know that we love talking about this team because it is so insane. And so that's what made this video so satisfying, is that we're so glad that somebody else sees this team for what they are, the insane, entertaining craziness. The clinching game is like, even by then you were kind of like rooting for them. When they try to fight back against the dominant Sabres in a series they would never win and never really had a hope in, you kind of got wrapped up in there too. But one of my favorite things though about the video, maybe my favorite thing about this, is it sounds like you found a lot of empathy for Islanders fans while watching the video. And I've watched a bunch of your other videos as well. And I don't know if any other ones come around. You probably, I think, touched upon this on the video about the Islanders Leafs series from 2002, which again, everybody should watch if you haven't watched it yet. I mean, is that true? Like, do you come around to sort of like, man, if I was a fan, I would be like losing my mind right now, whether it's with joy or, whatever, depression, anything like that. It really feels like you found the connection to Islanders fans while making the video.
Interestingly enough, it's the exact opposite. While I'm making videos, not as in like I came to despise the Islanders fans. I don't mean it like that. I meant the process, just the way it happens generally as I'm researching and making videos, is you have to resist the pull to lose. Because it's such a long process, you really have to resist the pull of losing the feeling, right? After a while, you just sort of get numb and you just start to get involved in the process. Or like, all right, now I'm collecting information. Now I'm sorting it in the script. And it's hard to maintain that feeling that you got. But once again, I have to compliment you two and Jack at Isles Den. You guys provided that, I guess, that third dimension to it. This video, for all of you listening out there, this video would not be half as good as it is without these two and without Jack from Isles Den. So big props to them. That's, I mean, like I said before, that was crucial. If I didn't hear it, from the mouths of people who were there, it would have been very hard to have picked up on in my research. And that sucks, because that's the most important thing that I want to convey in all of my videos that are about, historical stuff, because it's born out of love. You watch the Islanders because you love them. I make these videos because I love the game. The whole reason we watch sports is because we want to be entertained. And why would I make a video that's just a Wikipedia summary that's such a utterly sells this, not even the season, but just hockey short, right? I mean, so it kind of sucks that telling the emotional side of it in as much depth as it was lived through is so difficult. But if I am able to do it right, that's everything.
Well, we're here to tell you did.
Yeah, you did it right. the last couple minutes of the documentary I get very emotional even just thinking about it because of how what the journey that the season took you on and really forged in me as an Islander fan. Kind of like showed me like, look, if you're gonna do this is kind of what your life is gonna be like. So get ready and just the mention of the fact that their name is the Islanders and all that stuff. But
that was you too. That was you said you said in your interview, like, the Islanders are the only team in the country that wears the name of the people who love them on it. And I was like, oh, that is so poetic.
Yeah.
I knew that was a leap off. I knew it watching it.
Oh God. And but
so I just shameless plagiarism. Sorry.
No, that's why I mean, the interview process was, I think you said, you're like, I just want you guys to know these interviews might run long. And I'm like, I think both of us were probably like, yeah,
good.
You want to talk? I want to talk about Viktor Kozlov for 45 minutes. So,
right.
And he's just one of the guys. So I get, but what was so good about this, and I am gassing you up, but I'm not blowing smoke. It's what's so rewarding about this is there's all these, what I think you put it perfectly, like Wikipedia version sports documentaries that come out, and Dan and I, we've been doing Islanders Anxiety for a long time, 10 years, and a big part of what we do is we like to poke fun at the shortcomings of the hockey media, not just writers, but just rights holders, the Amazon documentaries and all that, because they are so milquetoast and so uniform and cookie cutter and very Wikipedia, just lift it from Wikipedia, put some B-roll on it and get Leif Schreiber to narrate it and move on. And this kind of swims upstream against that, and you can tell, like, this is somebody who's devoting an unbelievable amount of work to a team that he doesn't root for, to a season that he probably had no idea took place.
Right.
And you did a better job than anybody has telling the story, which is high praise coming from us, because we literally talk about the season once an episode. We bring up Randy Robitaille's name or someone at least once an episode, because this season is that important to us and the fan base. So it is. I'm sure if you've listened to 2 hours of this podcast, you've already watched the video. But if you haven't, we implore you to do it. You will learn. And if you're somehow found this podcast and are not an Islander fan and haven't watched the video, and you want to know why Islander fans are the way they are, as I said earlier, like, this is it. Like, this is how it all makes sense. It's not as simple as, oh, they were a dynasty and then fell off the planet and had some weird ownership. There's so much more, and this video does such a good job of kind of introducing that to the greater world. So it's so much fun. It's something I'm going to watch over and over and over again. So thank you.
That means a lot coming from you guys. Really, I do appreciate it, and I hope you all realize, and this goes for you too, Jack. I hope you guys realize that the role you played in making it what it is, for sure.
We couldn't be happier helping you, and we couldn't be happier with the finished product. And again, everybody needs to go out and watch The Last Days of Bedlam. It's on YouTube. This is coming out Thanksgiving weekend. You got plenty of time. So just go do it. Watch the documentary and then come back and listen to us talk to Pinholes for a while here. And it's not just the stuff that we've mentioned here. We talked about a lot of weird Islanders, but there's also secret base type documentary footage here, if you know what that is from SB Nation. There's cake references, the band Cake, not the food cake, in the chapter documentation. And then there's mentions of senseless chicanery, bunkum, and hooey, which again definitely describes the Islanders at this time, and just all kinds of little details like that really, really make it great. So definitely check it out. Please enjoy it. Share with anybody you know, especially Islanders fans, and then have them listen to this little companion piece as well. Also, while you're there, become a member at patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety for ad-free episodes, bonus podcasts, written posts, and a whole lot more. Or just sign up for free to get our weekly release calendar, or try a 7-day trial of our Country Club tier. Our theme song is Knuckles by Bjorn Falk. Listen to more of Bjorn's music on Bandcamp and on Spotify. Read Lighthouse Hockey every single day for your most up-to-date Islanders news and discussion. Islanders Anxiety podcasts are part of the Fans First Sports Network. Find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Please leave us a review where you can. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Shop VintageIceHockey.com. Try wines from the Pinot Project. Mike, we have talked a long time about this great video. Thank you, Pinholes, again for coming on. We can't thank you enough. Keep doing what you're doing. I know it'll be a while before the Islanders bat around to your topics, but we can't wait for your next video, whatever that's about. And Mike, any final thoughts on the great video or this great conversation we've had?
No, yeah, just a hearty thank you. Thanks to Pinholes. You can support his work too. He's got a Patreon out there, and I think it's also important to read the comments on the video, because Dan and I were talking, and Dan and Pinholes and I were talking before we started recording about them, and they are so overwhelmingly positive, which is so rare in this day and age, and it just tells you just how good a job it was and how crazy the season was. So yeah, it was a very validating experience to watch, and we really hope that Islander fans grow to cherish and share this one, because it's really a gift that we get to live through that season again in such a fashion.
Well said. Thank you, Pinholes, for coming on. We hope you had a great time.
I have had a wonderful time. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor.
Thank you very much. We'll have you on again, hopefully, at some point. And thanks for listening. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another great guest and another weird Islander. Until then, keep the Islanders weird. Watch The Last Days of Bedlam right now. This documentary does with a fraction of the budget what Amazon and Sportsnet and ESPN and even MSG networks have not even attempted to do for the Islanders, and it does it beautifully. So please watch it. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and stay tuned for a special sneak preview of our Weird Islanders, the podcast episode on Richard Zednik, coming up later this season. Before we move on to his final NHL stop, we have to discuss what happened to the pick that the Islanders sent to the Capitals. So it was a second-round pick, as I said before, and as we found out on this show in previous episodes, these picks tend to get used on players that aren't weird and, and end up having real legacies. And Ted, you brought something to this that I not even know about this pick. So if you look on Hockey Reference, it just says that the Islanders traded a second-round pick to the Capitals for Richard Zednik on February 26, 2007, and it was used on a player named Theo Ruth. But that's not where Theo Ruth's story ends, is it?
No, the silver lining for the Islanders is this pick turned into Theo Ruth, who was a national team development player, never played an NHL game, only played in the American Hockey League in the the ECHL. However, Theo Ruth was traded the next trade deadline to the Columbus Blue Jackets for Sergei Fedorov. And Fedorov, about 15 months later, scores a big goal against the New York Rangers in Game 7 of the 2009 playoffs, and may have made up for 10 games of mediocre Richard Zednik for a lot of Islander fans without even knowing it.
Didn't miss by much. And back comes Sergei Fedorov now. Going wide on Redden. Here's Fedorov, puts on the brakes. Snaps a shot. He scores! Sergei Fedorov has given the Capitals a 2-1 lead.
Yeah, no,
without even knowing it. That's crazy.
Yeah, as I said, it was it was something I didn't even know. I looked it up, and I was saying earlier, he didn't even have a Wikipedia page, so you knew it was a good career. But then you look, who did he get traded for? Oh, some guy named Sergei Fedorov. Okay, so I think that worked out.
Yeah, seriously. That's the highlight of Theo Ruth's career, I guess, is getting traded for. I mean, I wouldn't mind being traded for Sergei Fedorov either. Like, that's pretty awesome. But
I mean, you think about it, as Zednik got traded for Trevor Linden, Vancouver Canucks legend, and the guy he gets traded for from the Islanders gets traded for a Hall of Famer. That ain't bad.
That is insane. I love this. It's not quite Peter Regan for Igor Shesterkin levels, but it's up there. It's very close. So thank you so much for bringing that, because I never would have known that.